it's fight weekend. We got a good fight coming up. We got Regis Prograis. Let's go with the way they promote it. We got Deven Haney versus Regis Prograis. Title fight. Oh man. So I'm gonna tell you, right. I feel very. I don't have the greatest feeling for this fight. I don't. And on behalf of Regis Prograis. And we're gonna get into that. I'm gonna break that down for you. A lot of people feel like he's the guy at that weight, and for good reason, right? Um, let's start off with their records, right? You got Devin Haney, right? Devin Haney has an immaculate record: 30 fights, 30 wins, 15 by way of knockout, right? Great, great, right? Some people argue that his come up um, was kind of fashioned for him, right? He started off in Mexico, beat a lot of fighters there. Some people argue he lost the fight out there and then got that erased. Who knows? I don't care, right? As far as what I see and what's recorded, you're an undefeated fighter. Um, and you know what? Up to date, right? I mean, his last fight with Lomachenko, uh, I thought personally, right, that Devin Haney had grown, right, in the ring. When you watch these guys come up as fighters, you you can tell as they develop. You can think, oh wow, he's learned a lot due to his last fight, right? I mean, there's an old saying that goes, it takes 3 to 10 years to make a fighter. It takes 10 seconds to destroy when he's done. You know what I mean? So, uh, honest to God, I like Devin Haney as a fighter. I think he's very disciplined in the ring. He's had a hell of a lot of development over the course of his last 10 fights, um, and I can see why he feels like I went from fighting the Lomachenko, I got to fight a Regis Prograis, right? And because Lomachenko was promoted highly, I mean Bob Arum's horse for a long time, and and he got that victory, right? And a lot of people feel like he didn't. I personally feel like he did. Personally, you know what I mean? Like I watched it. I watched it many times over, and I give it to him. I think he won. It was a close fight, though. It was close. So um, let's talk about their accolades a little bit, right? This kid's got I'll give him this. Out of 30 bouts, he's got 198 rounds. He's got 50. He's 50%. He's at 15 knockouts. So he's 50%. That's not to say he doesn't have power, and it's not to say he does have power. It's to say is if he catches you right, he could hurt you and he could put you away. So, um, do I see that happening here? I could. I really could. Honest to God, I do kind of see that happening here, and I'm going to tell you why. But let's continue, right? Devin Haney's 25, right? The orthodox fighter, meaning he's right-handed. He's 5'8". He's got a 71. He's got a 71-inch arm reach, right? Significantly longer, actually, than Regis Prograis. That's a fact. In fact, Regis Prograis, on the other hand, with 30. Well, yeah, he's got 30 bouts, right? 29 wins, one loss to Josh Taylor, and he's fought 148 rounds. Him himself, he's got an 82% knockout ratio, the kick and punch, right? And this is what we're gonna get into when we talk about this fight because this is it's exciting, right? So the kid's 34 years old. He's a southpaw. Um, Generally, historically, right? And I'm sorry, southpaws, if you get angry with me about saying this, but it's not a fact. It's just it's been going on for a long time where we say left hand fighters struggle with right hand fighters, right? And that's not in every case because I've seen left hand fighters demolish right hand fighters, so it's not every time. But the kid's 5'8", and he's got a 67-inch arm reach. That's significantly less. Here's where this is going to come into play, right? For me, when I watch Devin Haney, right? The kid has a wide base, right? He's excellent at cutting off the ring. He can pursue you and attack you at the same time. I don't feel as if when watching Regis, first of all, he leads off with his back foot a lot, right? Which could have you off balance if you got punched on a walkthrough, right? So, um, and that seems like habit for him. It seems like something that these are things that over time you develop and you say, okay, I have to fix that, right? So I don't feel like Regis can pursue and attack at the same time. I've watched him time and time again. He's not good at that. Neither is he good at fighting from a distance, which Devin Haney's excellent at, right? He's really good at fighting from a distance. He's got that long jab. He's an in and out fighter. I think that's going to present a lot of issues for Regis. I really do. Is that to say Devin wins and Regis loses? You can never really tell, right? Because it's a puncher's game. You know what I mean? You get hit the right way, you can get knocked out. That's just facts. So, and Regis does contain the power to knock out Devin Haney, I believe. So, but getting there to that point, landing that punch, is it gonna happen? You know, let's look at it like this, right? I could I could go with that. I could go with that, right? Because Devin Haney's coming into 140 for the very first time. His first fight where he fights somebody at that weight with that power, with that speed, right? But this is going to come down to, see, Styles makes fights, right? So this is going to come down to whether Regis can get Devin Haney to fight his fight. Now, Regis has to find his way in and stay in. Can he do that? Chances are there's going to be times in the fight where he makes his way in, finds his way in. But Devin Haney's great at jabbing, moving, and he keeps it moving. So stylistically, I think it's a great dance, but I see Regis. I see Regis. I see Regis not getting the win. In fact, I almost want to say I could see Regis being knocked out. Here's why. Right? Regis has he gets into this thing with his head. Right? He got good head movement, but for whatever reason, that head's open, especially for a right hand fighter, and especially with somebody with that arm reach, right? And with the speed that Devin Haney has. Devin Haney's cross is immaculate and it's fast. So I honestly do see Regis getting caught with that. How early, I don't know. Right? It might be a feel out thing. Obviously, between round one and round two, it's a feel out game, and then it turns up from round three and up. So, but I do know that Regis has a very strong left hand. Not so much of a great jabber. In fact, his textbook in fighting isn't really the greatest. I know a lot of people have him at number one for 140, even above Teofimo Lopez. I disagree. I don't feel that way. For one, Regis is 34 years old. That's not to say he's done, but it is to say that this is that age where you either get one or two more great years in because you focused real hard and you just, you're trying to end your career with a bang, or you find out that you've hit your point where it's all downhill from here, right? So this is an interesting fight because I think both of them have something to prove. I think Devin Haney coming in, even though he beat Lomachenko, right? A lot of people feel like he didn't, and you beat an older Lomachenko. Had this been a younger Lomachenko, I'm not so sure. So, and again, right? People will say, well, he beat, it's hard because when you look at his record, right? When you look at this guy's record, And I love Devin Haney. I think he's a great talent. But when you look at his record, okay, he beat Lomachenko, right? George Kambosos. I mean, George Kambosos hasn't won a round since he beat Lopez, right? Like, I mean, you can't, you just can't, you can't even count that, right? Um, really. And then he wins against Diaz. He wins against George Linares. He wins against, I mean, Gamboa. I mean, Gamboa is 100 years old. You know what I mean? You can't, this is what I'm saying. You can't take those fights, right? And say, well, he beat Gamboa. Yeah, if he would have fought a very younger Gamboa, that would be a different story. Like this guy's going out. He's done. So I think, I guess my point is what I'm saying is, yes, does he got the names of big names under his belt? Sure, but they're of an older class, right? They're on their way out. So I think Devin Haney needs a Prograis to represent that he's number one at this point, right? He needs that. He needs that to say, you know what, I have a younger talent, not a 40-year-old guy or a 45-year-old guy. You know what I mean? I have a younger talent under my belt. And you know what? Even Regis Prograis is not a young guy anymore. He also is on his way out. So, you know, I think that Devin Haney's team, and his father too, I think they do a great job of fight selection. You know, they're picking off the right names, you know, at the right time, at the right age, to keep him in that limelight, uh, continuing to win and collecting belts. I mean, I do think he's going to win this fight. I do. I've already given you my pick. I do think he's going to win it just based on style alone. Um, I really do. So unless Regis can, again, this is going to be difficult for Regis to do, right? To get Devin Haney, who is honestly, he's he doesn't break. You know what I mean? He knows how to win. He knows what he needs to do to win. He knows how to adjust. Um, his defense is immaculate. I gotta say he's pretty damn good. So to get him to break and fight your fight is gonna be difficult. I think that you'll have to force your way in, right? I think he's gonna have to really put himself in a predicament, take high risk to get that reward. And if you put him in a position where if you crack him with that left hand, right, you land that and you hurt him, I think then you might have the argument where somebody starts to think and maybe they think too much. You know what I mean? Maybe they lose their equilibrium and being knocked down or something. You never know. These are just scenarios that might occur during that fight. Um, but yeah, I think he's going to have to force his way in because Regis's arm reach is just not as long as Devin's, and he's not a forward fighting guy. He's more of an inside fighting guy. So I can't see him winning the jab game. I can't see him honestly even winning the defense game. Like, you know, what I do give Regis is the fact that he's been at 140 and he's conquered 140, and I don't think he plans to go anywhere. I think that's his, you know, excuse me. I think that he's comfortable there, and he has a lot of opportunity there. I mean, he hasn't fought Lopez yet. That'd be nice. And speaking of that, Devin Haney's pushing for that fight next. Um, and I think that could be that fight right there. I think that fight right there makes more sense. If he can beat a Prograis, right, a Prograis, and then go against Lopez and beat a Lopez, that's when I can say, okay, now we can put Devin Haney in the pound for pound list. But until then, I can't really put Devin Haney in the pound for pound discussion because I really don't feel like, and this is my opinion, I just don't feel like he's fought real credible fight. Like, yes, you have those legendary names. You got a Lomachenko, you got a Gamboa, you got Gambosis, you got. I hear you, right? But again, these are guys who, at this point, when you watch them fight, they're washed up, right? I mean, if you're a boxing fan, you watch the fights like I watch, you know they're washed up. So I can't have that discussion with anybody talking about Devin Haney's pound for pound face of boxing. Like, nah, brother, I don't think so. Because if that's the case, right? If that's the case, then why are you chasing a Regis Prograis, right? Why are you chasing a Lopez, a Teofimo Lopez, right? You can. There's much better fights right down at 135 that you just left, and that's why I feel like, right. This is what my problem is with Devin Haney. It's not a problem that I have with him. I just think that I don't want to call it cowardice, right? Like I think he's making smart decisions for the big paydays, and is that to say he won't fight them fighters eventually? Who knows? Who knows? I think the fans want to see him in a Tank Davis. I think the fans would love to see him in a Shakur Stevenson. I think the fans would love to see. There's a lot of fights down there that he could entertain, and I think that he left that for that reason, right? Because it's high risk to do that. It's also high reward, but it's very high risk, and maybe he and his team said, you know what, let's build up to that, right? Which is smart. It's a smart move. So I don't really hate it for him career wise, but I hate it at being a fan wise, right? Because you figure, all right, you're undisputed. You might as well go fight the best. Let's show us now that you are that, right? You're undisputed. But no, he wants to go up and wait and test them guys. And I think he's doing that because he knows he can beat those guys. His discipline is a lot better than Regis Prograis. I think he's going to be tested even more. If you want to ask me if I was to put, like my top three at 140, I would say Teofimo Lopez is probably number one for now. For now, right? And then I would go at. It's hard to put Devin Haney in slot number two, even though that's where I'm gonna put him because he's there now, but he just got there, right? So we don't know how this is gonna play out. If he can, I think he'll be just fine. Personally, I do have him as my pick, but Regis Prograis does hit hard, and he is fast. And he can make fighters fight his fight. I don't think he's going to be able to do it with Haney. I think Haney's discipline is bar none. But I do think that Haney will get caught doing something. Like, right, you're gonna get hit. That's a fact. It's how clean and where. Right? Is it the body that he leaves open for Regis to hit? Because I you know what? Just like I do, I watch fights all the time. These boxers watch fights all the time. So we are very much aware of the habits, right? And so I'm almost 100% sure Devin Haney knows when he goes in there that Regis Prograis' main weapon is his left hand, right? His hook, maybe even his cross. But that's about it, right? I don't think Regis Prograis does a great job cutting off the ring. I don't think he does a great job pursuing, but I do think he does a great job being a bully, right? Just once he gets inside, you got some problems, right? And I think that's where Devin Haney doesn't shine so well. He's not a strong inside fighter, although he can do it, right? I just don't think he's favorable in that kind of match. So it's going to come down to the discipline and how Devin Haney actually coming into this fight, how he controls that fight, right? Again, I got nothing against either one of these fighters. I think they're both incredibly talented, but I do know what I know, and it's. I mean, how many more fights can Regis have after 34 years of age? I mean, you do hit your mark after a while. You do. Like, it's just a fact. So, my pick is Devin Haney for sure. I don't think I'm going to change that at all. I just think he has more accolades. He's more disciplined. He's got the reach. Does he have the power to knock out Regis Prograis? I think if he lands enough, right? If he gets one clean one, maybe hurts him. I think he has the talent to end it. right? I do think he can do that. One shot kill? Nah, I don't think so. Does Regis Prograis have that power? Yeah, he does got that power. So it's going to be interesting to watch the two styles clash on Saturday night. You can watch that on Danzin. Um, let's see, man. Like again, these fights. I always say styles make fights. So let's see what comes to the table when these styles collide and what happens. I don't think I'm wrong. I personally don't. Just looking at these guys, and like Regis Prograis' last fight wasn't that great. Now I don't want to class him on that, right? Because fighters have bad nights. I mean, it happens. You come in, you're not feeling the greatest, or whatever. You trained a little too hard. You're dehydrated, whatever it might be. But his last fight, he didn't look the greatest. So I do think he comes into this fight feeling great. I'm pretty sure as I think I heard him say, he's been training for this fight for 4 fucking months, man. That is a long time to train. Most fighters train the most 3 months. So I think he's taking this fight very seriously. I don't think he's overlooking anything, and I hope Deven Haney's not looking over anything. That could be a problem. Um, because coming in, I think Deven Haney's head is. I just beat Lomachenko right here, and he's living it up, man. The guy's buying. You see him around buying cars, buying houses. He's living it up, right? And another thing too. A lot of people like to say, "Oh, this is the streets versus the suburbs," right? Regardless whether Regis Prograis is from the streets and Deven Haney's from the suburbs, and this is boxing. All right, this is boxing. Regis Prograis, yes, he has that style where it's not so much textbook, right? You could, I guess you could say he's got more of a street style, but you can't come in here street fighting. Don't do it. Like it's bad for you, right? You don't want to keep your hands low. You don't want to not have head movement, right? You don't want to do fake, feints and be telegraphic. You don't want to telegraph your punches. You want to be textbook when you come in the ring and have a style that you developed over the course of time. So I don't look at it. I know a lot of people. I've seen that all over the internet. Like, oh, this is the streets versus the No, it ain't, bro. This is boxing versus boxing, and one style is going to beat the other, plain and simple. So again, my pick's Deven Haney. I'd like to know what your pick is. If you want, leave it in the leave it in the comment box, and we can talk about it. Right, our next go round. We'll talk about this fight. We'll talk about the last fight before this with Dave Benavidez and Demetrius Andrade. I thought that was exciting, huh? Wow. I honestly, I was 50% on that one. By the way, I had picked Jose Benavidez to beat Jamal Charlo. It didn't work. Actually, Jamal Charlo. Shout out to Jamal Charlo, right? Because he fought a great fight, man. I didn't expect that. I honestly thought the 2 years out with your ring rust, and he didn't show any. He didn't show any. But he didn't show what. And I guess the reason I thought that was because in the press conferences, and I didn't see much training going on. And maybe he kept that quiet. I don't know. Maybe he kept it real on the low. But he didn't. That wasn't the same Jamal Charlo that we know. And we know he claims to have gone through some issues in his life. Some people call them mental issues. I don't know. I don't think he's been diagnosed with any mental issues. I think he got depressed, hung around a few bad people, whatever. But I thought that time off clearly affected him, and it didn't. So shout out to him beating Jose Benavidez. It was a unanimous decision and well deserved. So I'd like to see what's next for him. Right, there's some big talks about that division right there, and it includes Canelo Alvarez, it includes Terrence Crawford, it includes David Benavidez. So we got crazy fights coming up, and I'm happy. This is the time where I'm the most happiest because I'm a big boxing fan. big fight fan. I love UFC too. So we got big things that are gonna happen. I hear now that Canelo is entertaining the conversation with Terence Crawford. Are we gonna see that fight? I don't know. I don't think so. Right? Not right away. Anyway, I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because Crawford's still under contract to fight Spence. That's happening in what was it, February? So I don't see that happening because generally Canelo Alvarez likes to fight, especially Cinco de Mayo. He likes to fight on Cinco de Mayo, if you know. So we can't expect Crawford to go from fighting Spence to training right away to fight in May. Like that would be absurd. Could he do it? Yeah, I think so. Personally, I think so. But contracts have to be signed ahead of time. Things have to be in place ahead of time. So, do I see that fight happening at the beginning of this year or in the middle of this year? No. Toward the end of the year, I think we have a strong discussion for that. Who I think fights Charlo next. I mean, Canelo Alvarez next is Charlo. I think he's the best set up person right now for that. Could he fight David Benavidez? I think that what's funny. So the fans want that. Canelo's been dodging that for a long time. In fact, he's been David Benavidez's mandatory for I think the last 2 years. To be honest with you. So I think the fans want it, and now I'm also hearing that the what was it, WBC or whatever belt he has, whatever commission belt he got they're telling him he's gotta fight him. He's got to make a decision soon. And will they strip the belts from him if he don't? That's interesting. So I think we're going to see Charlo first. I think that's a given, right? And then I think it'll end up. What's that other dude's name? Marcia or whatever. Oh Jesus, he's another one that's in the conversation. I wish I had his name in my head right now. But I do think Charlo's next, and I think that comes in May. And you know what? I think that'll be a great fight to watch after watching Charlo come back and do what he did against Jose Benavidez. And let me just clarify that I'm not comparing Jose Benavidez to Canelo Alvarez. That is a total different. I mean, listen. Stop while you're ahead. Look, we're not even gonna. No way. So. Yeah, Canelo Alvarez is a total different monster than Jose Benavidez. Facts. I mean, look what he did. Look what he did to Jamel Charlo, right? The twin brother. So, I don't think we'll see that with Jamal Charlo. I don't. I think Jamel was. He should have fought harder, right? I mean, the guy ran the whole fight. I mean, but again, and I'll say this again, right? You can prepare. You can prepare all you want for Crawford. You can prepare for Tito Trinidad. You can prepare for, right? I mean, these guys are out of the game now, but growing up, you could prepare for these guys who got the big name, the big power shot. But once you're in there, it's not. It means nothing until you get in there and actually fight with these guys, and then you find out that they're extremely strong, right? They have a presence in the ring. Like there's just certain things that you can't prepare for. So you try your best, right? You find similar fighters who have similar styles, and you spar with them throughout that time to get to that point where you're like, all right, I'm ready to go in there and fight this guy. But until you've actually been in there with the caliber of guy that Canelo Alvarez is, I don't think you can prepare for that. I really don't. I think it's study hard on his style. I think it's prepare as best as you can, work out as best as you can, get yourself solid, get yourself right, get your speed up. But I think Jamel could have done a better job. I think personally, I think he was intimidated. I think he was intimidated by the moment. I think he was intimidated by the size, the power, the speed, all of it. I just think it was overwhelming for him. So Do I think that happens with Jamal? I don't think so. I think Jamal puts up a better fight, and rightfully so. I hope he does. So let's hope that we see that one next, right? Because I don't think I don't think Canelo Alvarez is going to sit around long. I really don't. He's not the type of fighter that likes to sit around long. He likes to get 2 to 3 fights in a year. So let's hope and pray we get something that big. Again, I don't think it's going to be Terence Crawford, but I do think that the discussions for Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, if Crawford beats Spence, which in that fight, that was such a fight. That was such a hard fight for me to call last time. It really was. I couldn't tell you which way who was gonna win. I started to lean Spence's way, and we quickly found out that wasn't the case. So, in order for Spence, if you want my 2 cents on that, and I'm giving to you this early, we're gonna make videos about that. But in order for Spence to win that fight, he's gonna have to make some major adjustments. I'm glad that they're fighting at a heavier weight. I think that helps Spence tremendously. Instead of 140, instead of 145 or whatever it was, I think it was 145, or 147. They're fighting at now 154, which is great, right? Junior middleweight, that's awesome. I think Spence is a harder puncher. I think he's less drained at that weight. I think something, but I don't think that that's all that it is. I honestly don't. Like I said, styles make fights, and I just think that Terence Crawford's style supersedes Spence. And that's not to say that Spence isn't a great fighter. Spence is by far the number 2 fighter in the world at that weight class. So let's see what happens there. I do think that Terence Crawford beats Spence yet again, and then moves on to fight someone of a Canelo. I really don't think that Terence Crawford will ever get into the discussion of fighting someone like a David Benavidez. I don't. That's a bad move. And not to say that Crawford's style couldn't do it. It's just David Benavidez is a monster, bro. Like, he's huge. He's 6'2". You know what I mean? To have to deal with that arm length, and power, height, ring generalship, IQ, all of it comes into play. And you know what? I look at Terence Crawford in high regard when it comes to boxing. I think the guy can do anything. I really do, and he's super strong. But that there are just some things you just don't do, right? You just again, he's a big guy, man, and that's overwhelming in itself to have that arm reach, to have that power. That's scary to get in there with. And I don't think Terence Crawford. Again, these guys are being smart. They're not going to just jump in there with anybody, but they want to. They want to be great, right? They're taking their chances, and they want to be great. So, is it totally out of the question at the moment? That's what Crawford's saying. He's like, no way will I even discuss that. But there are other fighters out there. Costa Zoo's son. What? Tim Zoo? Tim Zoo, let me tell you, that's another fighter that's in that equation of fighting with Canelo Alvarez, Jamal Charlo, also with Terence Crawford. So, like I said, we have big fights coming up, talented guys that are coming up to do this. And yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm super. When you're a fight fan like me and you analyze these guys, you get super hyped, man. You do. I set up parties for this shit. You know what I mean? Like, my cousin will go to his house. We'll have a huge event over there, food, beer, whatever. Just all our friends are there, pool table, So it becomes an event for us. We love it. But let's see what happens. Let's focus back on this one. Deven Haney versus Regis Prograis. My pick is Deven Haney, whether it be by knockout or unanimous decision. I don't think unless Regis Prograis can get, like I said, to get him to fight Devin Haney to fight his fight, and these are those moments that they're just amazing. If that happens, right? If Regis Prograis is to knock out Devin Haney, that's the only way I think he's going to win. I don't think he's going to win by decision. I highly doubt that. We could see a knockout. We could. It's a puncher's game. So I get excited about that, right? Let's see what happens Saturday night. Tune into Dan's and to watch that. Again, if you guys could do me the favor, leave your comments, hit that like button, subscribe. It helps my channel. It helps me even want to do this for you guys because my schedule's crazy. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Love you guys. Thanks.